Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Not you're going to be a little late traffic, the bad kind, the kind where you've turned the podcast off because you can't focus, and you're just sitting there gripping the wheel, watching the minutes bleed away. And here's the weird part. You're not panicking, you're annoyed, sure, but your brain has already started problem solving. You're rerouting, you're texting people, you're already telling yourself, okay, this is fine, I'll figure it out. Now, imagine something smaller. Your Wi-Fi has been a little slow for the past 3 weeks. Not broken, just annoying. Every time you sit down to work, it's a little bit worse than it should be. You have not called your internet provider. You have not looked into switching plans. You've just sort of absorbed it into your life permanently. Here's the thing nobody tells you. The big traffic disaster gets solved. The small, annoying Wi-Fi problem gets endured, sometimes for years. And that's completely backwards from what you'd expect. The bigger problem, gone faster. The smaller problem lives with you forever. There's an actual name for this. Psychologists call it the region beta paradox. And once you understand the mechanism behind it, you're going to start seeing it everywhere in your life. Your job, your relationships, your actual physical apartment. So, let's get into it. So, back in 2004, a group of researchers, Gilbert, Lieberman, Morwedge, and Wilson, published a paper. And I need you to know the actual title of this paper, because it's kind of incredible. It's called The Peculiar Longevity of Things Not So Bad. Think about that for a second. Not why bad things last a long time. The peculiar longevity of things not so bad. The paper is literally about how the annoying, mediocre, tolerable stuff in your life is the stuff that sticks around the longest. The genuinely terrible stuff, weirdly, doesn't. Now, the term region beta itself, honestly, kind of a boring name for something this wild. It actually didn't even come from emotions at all. It came from a diagram about commuting. Picture a graph the researchers drew, showing a person's commute time based on distance. If you live really close to somewhere, you walk. If you live far away, you drive or you bike, because it's faster. But there's this weird middle zone, right in between close enough to walk and far enough that biking makes sense. There's a distance where you're stuck walking a long way, because it's not quite far enough to justify getting the bike out. So, paradoxically, in that middle zone, going a little bit farther can actually get you there faster, because now you're allowed to use the faster method. They called that weird glitchy middle zone on the graph region beta, and then they realized, wait a second, emotional pain works exactly the same way. Okay, so here's the actual mechanism, and this is the part that's genuinely insane once you get it. Your brain does not respond to pain like a dial that just goes up and down smoothly with how bad something is. It responds more like a tripwire. There's a threshold. And your brain's defense systems, the stuff that actually helps you cope, rationalize, move on, heal, they do not turn on until you cross that threshold. Gilbert actually has a name for this defense system. He calls it your psychological immune system, and I love that name because it's exactly accurate. Think about your actual physical immune system. It doesn't activate for a tiny paper cut. Your body just kind of shrugs and lets it heal on its own, slowly in the background without you noticing. But a deep wound, your body floods that area. Inflammation, white blood cells, the whole emergency response team shows up immediately. Your emotional brain runs the exact same software. A truly devastating event, getting fired, a breakup, something catastrophic that crosses the threshold. And your brain goes, okay, red alert, and it deploys everything it's got. Coping mechanisms, rationalizations, support systems, meaning-making. Your brain basically goes into crisis mode and starts actively healing you. But something mildly bad? A slow, low-grade, it's not that bad kind of situation that never crosses the threshold. So the emergency response never gets triggered, nothing happens. You're just left there, quietly logging the damage day after day, with no defense system ever kicking in to help you process it. And here's where it gets almost cruel, because your brain is not only failing to help you with the small stuff, it's also wrong in the other direction too. When people are asked to predict how they'll feel after something intensely bad happens, they consistently predict it'll hurt for a long, long time. But it usually doesn't, because that psychological immune system kicks in and gets you through it faster than you expected. So your brain lies to you twice. It tells you the big thing will hurt forever, when it actually won't. And it convinces you the small thing is basically nothing, when it's actually going to sit there unresolved for years. And this isn't just some cute lab theory either. Researchers have actually found this pattern show up in real trauma data, including in people's psychological responses after exposure to terrorist attacks. People who experience genuinely severe trauma sometimes show faster recovery curves than people dealing with ongoing chronic moderate stress, like a toxic but tolerable job or a slowly deteriorating relationship. The catastrophic stuff mobilizes you. The slow drip stuff just kind of accumulates. And honestly, this is where it gets personal, because I guarantee you have at least one region beta situation running in your life right now. Maybe it's a job that isn't abusive, your boss doesn't scream at you, nobody's cruel, it's just draining in this low, persistent way. And every single day you think, well, it's not that bad, I can deal with this. And you tell yourself that same sentence for literally years. There's actually a companion glitch that explains why you never act on it even once you notice it. It's called decision inertia, and it's basically the brain's tendency to do nothing, simply because not deciding doesn't cost you anything right this second. When in doubt, do nothing. That's the default setting. So the pain doesn't trigger your defenses, and doing nothing about it feels completely free. Two glitches stacking on top of each other into one much bigger trap. And here's the thing, this doesn't just apply to jobs, it applies to relationships too. There's actually research suggesting that if you're in a relationship that's mildly unsatisfying, you're less likely to leave it than if it were genuinely bad. Which means, in a weirdly twisted way, fine can be more dangerous than terrible because terrible gets you out. Fine keeps you stuck. Same thing with your actual physical living space. A slightly messy room, you can ignore that forever. But once it crosses some invisible mess threshold, suddenly you're up at midnight reorganizing your entire closet. It's not really about the mess, it's about whether the mess crossed your personal region beta line. And look, I want to be clear, this isn't just some internet self-help concept, some vibes-based life hack. Researchers have actually built computational models of this, real graphs, real math, charting emotional intensity against recovery time, and finding an actual non-monotonic curve, meaning the line does not just go up steadily as things get worse. It goes up, then it dips back down, then it goes back up again. Your emotional recovery, mathematically, does not scale the way you'd assume it should. So here's the part where we zoom out, because I think this is actually one of the most freeing pieces of psychology you'll come across. Your brain isn't broken, it isn't lazy, it's just running an ancient piece of survival software that was built to react to threats, not to slow, ongoing discomfort. Somewhere in our evolutionary past, a sudden massive threat, a predator, an attack, needed an all-hands-on-deck emergency response immediately. But a slow, tolerable discomfort, a mediocre food source, an uncomfortable but survivable environment that never needed an emergency response. It just needed to be endured long enough to survive the day. The problem is, modern life is basically an endless buffet of low-grade, tolerable discomforts. Bad jobs that aren't quite bad enough. Relationships that aren't quite bad enough. Living situations that aren't quite bad enough. And your ancient threat detection software just was never built to flag any of that as urgent. So if there's something in your life you've been quietly enduring, something you keep telling yourself it's not that bad, I want you to actually sit with that sentence for a second. Because that sentence might not be reassurance. It might be the exact reason it's still happening. You don't need your situation to get worse for your brain to finally take it seriously. You get to be the one who decides the threshold. You get to look at the slow, tolerable, forgettable pain in your life and just decide on your own, without waiting for a crisis, that it's enough. And honestly, there's something kind of beautiful in that. You're not broken for putting up with things longer than you should have. You're just human, running old software in a very new world. And now that you can actually see the glitch, you get to be the one who patches it.